We're just mocking up the cat flap and rear flap. I'm waiting on a galvanised plate being made for the inside of the bottom flap, and we're just trying to get the seal gaps right round the top. And we've had a bit of a pig because the Heath Robinson hinges at the top weren't the same, and whilst we've got a relatively even gap up here, it's a little bit tight there, and then significantly tighter here, and a big gap up here. But that's this panel needing to go across, and we can't get any further across, so I think that's going to be a live with it. So we're going to massage the hinge inside the mount bolts so we can shuffle it about a little bit at the top end. The main problem has been getting it so actually when it's shut, it's kind of flush, and it's not perfect, but it's a Land Rover fit. There we go. So we took it off and stretched the holes the wrong way and then stretched them the right way. Happy amateur hour. And we've got a reasonably even gap down there now. We've put the locking mechanism on and it fits it with these two holes here, so I just need to make a triangular bracket for that pin to go in and out of. Same on that side. We just slightly proud this side, so if I make the hole so that it's set, that will pull in anyway against the seals. And we flush outside. So yeah, we had to lower this side down, so I've stretched the holes upwards, and then there was a bit of confusion as to which way the arrows were supposed to be going, so I stretched the holes upwards on this one as well, and I didn't, and it did come down. Something like that anyway. All we've done is we've levelled up the distance it was coming down there is comparable to that side. We've got a slightly tapering, so we're wide up here, narrow down here, and the only way we can adjust that is undoing all the roof bolts and knocking this across, and the same on this side, which is evidently worse. But I'm loath to do that because it was such a pig getting the roof to connect up to the windscreen, so I am going to leave it. So we'll take that off, fit the other bits that we need to fit the rivet holes, and then the only thing that remains is the stay for holding it up. I'm quite worked out I'm going to do that. Yeah, that's a bit of head scratching. So the throw on the lock is 35mm, and we were only just, we're about 1/8 of an inch in, so I've moved it over, so we're 1/4 of an inch in now. Looks better, looks all right. So it's secured on to steelwork at the back there. It's not tightened up because I needed a bit of movement to get the plunger lined up so that when it's in and locked, the amount of compression on the gasket, the door seal was okay. And that one's, yeah, another job done. I'm assuming these two, which are higher up, I can do something with the strut to hold it up. That's my next thought, but I want the door hung first so I can work out some measurements, how long the strut needs to be and whatever. Let's put the seal strip on. So these are left loose so that I can move them up and down, make sure all the lines right. We'll trim the ends of those off. Hinges are done, brackets are done, just got to glaze it now. I'm wondering whether I should glaze it before I hang it, or hang it, test it again. Can't see why it would have moved. I think I'll glaze it first. That'll have to wait till after lunch. Well, I'm obviously getting better at the glazing because that went in a treat. Glasses leaves a bit to be desired. There's one mark I can't get out. I don't know what that is there. Can't feel it on either side, but it's definitely on the top face, but it's full of scratches. But then it's probably 40 odd year, well 50 odd year old. Anyway, it's in. So I need to source another handle. So I need to source the other end of that. That'll fit on. I'm pretty sure they were both the same. Other than that, is stick it on and then get the gas struts mounted. I don't know, I'll just trim these flush at the end. I'll check where they need to go later. Yeah. Jolly goodly. What do you think, Sky? Bothered? Nope. Well, I was hoping to have a smooth installation. We've been beating the crap out of this distorted galvanised plate. Got it mounted on the door frame with only a slight bend. Come to fit these, and they don't bloody fit. So given that these are only a tenner each, I thought I'd get the angle grinder on them. Well, I've done a bit of jiggery pokery and adjusted and leaned and squeezed. I've got it so that it now operates as a flap up and down, and I've also had it so it'll swing open, which is obviously what it's designed to do. That side I've got a nice even transition. This side there's probably 1/4 of an inch drop, which is replicated on the bottom edge. So you've got lots of it there. I've got no more room to move this up, but if I move this up, it would move that up. So I'd basically think my gap's not as square as it could perhaps be, and there's no means of bracing these out. So I'm inclined to say that's close enough. Next problem is this thing. So these are the latches that came with it. If I set them that way round, I'm hard up against the inside of that escutcheon or whatever it's called, and I've got a hell of an offset on it. Yeah, that's damn near 1/2 inch. If I do it the other way round, so it's flush there, I can't get that closed. The only thing I can think of is trying to see whether to put another washer on the back of that and move this out. And then I can try and get the bolts in. It needs a bit shaving off the inside of this thing. But yeah, we're getting there slowly. Want that in so I can then fit the flap. I've spent the morning fitting this, it's a Defender seal, as per Craig Martin's channel, CSM Restorations, I think it is, or Classic Cars, or anyway, I'll try and remember to put a link in on the bottom of the video. So yeah, we're getting there. So, you know, I've got no chains set up yet, so when you open the door, there's supposed to be like a chain that runs off that pigtail back somewhere. I haven't got them, so I'll probably do a wire rope with plastic over it. That'll then hold it at that position, and then I'll have a sign at the bottom for the dog to read saying mind the gap. The warp on the door is what's causing the frustration, but on the other hand, that's rather landrovery, isn't it? So yeah, I've got to take that out, stick a washer behind it, have a go at fitting that next. finally think we've got it tuned in about right. Getting there now. It needs a load of new M6. Well, take his quarters out, and the distortion on the door isn't helping at all. I think that's get down, Shep. And it's nice. There's a couple of big rubber washers sit behind there, so there's no rattle. I've got a packer that will sit behind this hinge and it'll push that in, and then we get almost get a seal. Just an 1/8 of an inch gap. But it's as I say, it's this galvanised plate that's caused most of the aggro. It's twisted the door frame. Right. Right, well, I've wrestled the catflap into position, got all the various bits on, and with the new seals, striking pins or brackets where those plungers hit, they need to be modified. The gas struts work, but there's a problem, and it's with the door rather than the gas struts, or the hinges I should say. As I say, these hinges aren't, I don't think they're Land Rover ones, I think they've been garage made. In fact, I'm fairly sure they have, because there's a 1/4 inch difference with them. So I set my bracket for that gas strut on the hinge steel, thinking, oh, that's going to be plenty robust because that's nearly 1/4 inch thick, and it's mounted up and it pushes down, picks up on the original brackets which carried the support braces. The problem is the footprint of that hinge being at 90 degrees that way, but all the forces are that way. So it really wants extending, and the reason being it's flexing. It's just flexing along this line. Oops. It's flexing along this line here, and the two what do you call them, rib nuts that I've got in there, which are M8. So I need to come up with a cunning plan to reinforce this corner section of the door and spread the load of the hinge. It's all right if they're just going up and down, but when they're under the pressure of these gas hoses, gas struts, you'll see. Other than that, I mean, it's not a bad little installation, but there's nearly 3 inches of flex from that point down here. This bottom half drops, so if I operate that bit, without the seals in place, that went through the air wall, and there's not enough to squish it now. So I can't just re-drill the back holes because it'll be colliding on the edge of this. So I think I've got to make up a packing piece to bring it forward and back, which is annoying. And it's the same on that side. Yeah. And I need to wind this one out. I'm wondering whether I've actually got these in top to bottom, so there should be this one should be firing along the bottom and that one should be along the top. I don't think it matters. Don't remember it being like that. Anyway, so if I wind the handle round. So if you watch that bracket at the top there, you can see it flex as it starts to open. There you go. 20 Newton meters each, so sorry, 200 Newton meters, which is 20 kilos each, which gives you combined 40 kilos, which the door's about, my guess, 25. So you can see the big gap at the back here, and it's tight on there, so as I say, it wants some kind of extension to extend it down, which means it's all got to come off again. Oh. And the gas strut's the same length, but that pickup hole here versus that pickup hole here, this one's 1/4 inch lower, and the only error can be in the hinge. But I'm darned if I can see it. Anyway, right, gotta have a think about how I'm going to do this, because I need not only the gas struts, I need the whole kit and caboodle I'm doing. Anyway, slide my rear end out of there, close my door, and then lower the door flap down. I'm not doing it too often because I don't want stress cracks in that bloody skin. So you can see it's sitting proud. I want it back there. This is boring, man. Oh. It's like the gas struts are holding it out as well, and that has to be the leverage on it. I hadn't considered that being an issue, but you know, that comes out nearly 1/2 inch. Oh. So that needs a bit of investigating, but it's looking better. Anyway, we'll keep going. Right, so we're back on the bench. You can see this crease line here. That was how it arrived, kind of things. You can paint yourself, painted over it. I'll put 2 riv nuts in. They're fine when there's no pressure, just literally the door hanging off it. But clearly there's not enough seat for that. So what I'm thinking of trying to do now is drill them out, and trying to basically extend that foot to take in that 3rd hole. I mean, and I can't just weld a plate on the underside of that. That'd be too bloody easy, because that, when the hinges close, the doors end the thickness of that plate further out. Need a bit of head scratch on this one. Obviously I don't want to start chopping all this about because it's all painted up. I don't mind repainting the brackets for a 3rd time. The other way is to chop this foot off and make a bigger plate and weld it back on. That might be the most straightforward, albeit I'll have to clean all around there because it's all galvanised. Yeah, gonna have a think. Well, my options were fairly limited, as I'm going to need pieces of steel to replace the whole foot, so I've elected to weld a brace on the base. So I'm just welding it on bigger than it needs, and then I'll cut it back. TIG welding's easier though when it's thick material. And flip it over and do the other side just for completeness. We have a cunning plan. I can't bend this stuff because it's stainless steel and it's too bloody thick for doing it. I don't want to make it out of aluminium because it'll have no strength. Don't want to make it out of steel because it will rust and need painting. So I'm going to chop these through here on a straight line because they're going to be the mounting points. I'm going to then flip that over to give me a diagonal, which is basically going to face that opposite way round to where it was going to be doing. And then I'm going to cut myself a flat piece to give me the offset so that they can be mounted closer to the flat locking mechanism so that the reach is enough. That's a kind of 3-dimensional view of it. So all I've got to do, he says optimistically, is weld that section through and weld that section through. I need to check if I've got any stainless steel rods. If I have, then that's the plan. If I haven't, The only thing I can think of is beating the crap out of it with a big hammer, but I seem to recall stainless steel is real tough to bend, and I've got no means of heating it up enough to get bending it. And I've always found when you heat stuff up and bend it, it never really ends up where you want it to. So we'll give it a go with welding it. And then what I'll do is I'll elongate these as slots so that I've got some in and out, maybe a bit of up and down, but up and down wise, as long as that hole is in the centre of those two, it doesn't really need much, it lines up. And I've got movement on the bracket of the slider. Hope that makes sense. I'll be asking questions later. I'm definitely getting better, but it's a lot easier on thicker stuff with a heatsink behind it. Right, so that's the welded bracket. That's the new backing plate, 2 new location holes. All I've got to do now is mark that position so that I can then trim this off and weld it along the edge. What could possibly go wrong? God, that's damn nearly successful. It's a bit tight getting the nuts and bolts in, but you can get a span around them. Well, that's lined up all right. And that one's gonna line up all right, but I need to wind that out. It's adjustable on depth, but at the moment it's barely in, and it's seized, so we're currently soaking it. Anyway, I'm going to lock up the or nip up the bits. It's near enough lined up, and I'll show you outside in a minute. But yeah, I'm not going to lie, I'm quite glad that bit's done. Got a nice little soft oil dampener on the back end of it. Bracket's turned out all right. And it's cleaned up all right. Got ourselves a rubber mat inside. Trying to decide whether to trim it to width or leave it like that, because it will hold a bit of damp like that, but it will stop it getting through to the bottom. I found I think it's a garage door handle. Modified that, and that sits in there quite nicely, thankfully. Yeah. We got a steering wheel fitted. Don't connect up to anything, but we've got a steering wheel fitted. Try and get another upload, show you where we're up to at the front end.